私の話聞いてます？
うん。でも今から実験の準備するから、しびれる愛の告白は後でね。
はあ
Hey everybody, welcome to another lesson of learning Japanese. Today we're going to go over another anime line of the day, and the show that we're going to be taking our line from in this video is going to be the show Time Travel Shoujo. Our line that we have is going to translate to I'm preparing for an experiment right now, so your confession of love will have to wait for later. 今からjikkenの準備するからしびれる愛の告白は後でね。
私の話聞いてます？
うん。でも今から実験の準備するから、しびれる愛の告白は後でね。
はあ
So this line right here has a pretty simple structure. It's basically just two clauses connected by the conjunction kara, which means because basically, and it has a few other grammar patterns. And so let's just cover the vocabulary words that we need to know here so we can jump right into it and get a glimpse of that. So our vocabulary list is going to consist of 5 words here. First one is going to be noun jikken, which is going to translate to experiment, usually something like a science experiment. This show right here is pretty much about historical scientists. Next up we have the word jyunbi, which is a very common word. It's a noun that means preparation, but it's commonly used as a verbal noun. Junbi suru to mean basically to prepare or to get ready. Next up we have the verb word shibireru, which means basically to be excited, to be titillated, something along those lines. Moving on, we have the word ai, which is just going to mean love. It's a very common word. Very common word, noun word. And last but not least, we have another noun, kokuhaku, which is also a pretty common word that you'll hear a lot in anime. It just means confession, so like when you confess your love or something like that, kokuhaku. Alright, so with the vocabulary words covered, let's jump into the actual line. Once again, it is 今からjikkenの準備するからしびれる愛の告白は後でね. And this is going to translate to, I'm preparing for an experiment right now, so your confession of love will have to wait for later.
でも今から実験の準備するから、しびれる愛の告白は後でね。
So we are going to start this off with the word ima, which just means now or right now. We have the particle kara to mean basically from, so from now. More naturally, that's just going to be right now. Right after that, we have a noun of a noun modification here with our first 2 vocabulary words, jikken, which means experiment, and junbi, which means preparation. So jikken no junbi is going to translate to basically preparation for the experiment. We're going to use junbi as a verbal noun though, so jikken no junbi suru is going to be basically getting ready for the experiment or preparing for the experiment. And what we've covered so far is pretty much a standalone clause. It has a verb and an action going on. So we can end this clause and connect it to another one to form the whole sentence. We're going to use the conjunction kara to mean basically because. So because I'm preparing for an experiment right now, we see that it's going to start with the word shibireru, which means to be excited. It's basically going to be modifying the word ai, which means love. So shibireru ai is a love that's excited right now. We are going to in turn place that into a noun of a noun modification. Shibireru ai no kokuhaku is going to be basically like a confession of love. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to mark that noun of a noun modification right there, shibireru ai no kokuhaku, as the topic with the particle wa. And then what comes after that is ato de. And this is actually kind of a grammar pattern in and of itself. It means ato is basically going to mean after or later. We use blank ato de to mean after blank basically. We're not quite using it in the same way here. Usually that blank would be a clause, and then the ato de will come right after. Here we're using it with the particle wa to mean just basically this is later. So the confession of love is later. And we're also kind of doing this thing where we drop the part after ato de. Usually you would probably say something like suru, as in to do. So shibireru ai no kokuhaku wa ato de shimashou, or something like that. Let's do the confession of love later. Let's deal with that later. Here we don't even put the suru just because of how implied it is already. That is the common thing in the Japanese language. If something's pretty much implied already from the context of the conversation, they'll just drop it to make it shorter. And of course that is a sign of it being more spoken Japanese, colloquial Japanese, as opposed to written Japanese. And that actually is going to wrap up the sentence. 今からjikkenの準備するからしびれる愛の告白は後でね. Literally, this will be translated to starting now, I'm preparing for my experiment. So your confession of love will be later, or something like that. In our natural translation, we'll just turn that into I'm preparing for an experiment right now, so your confession of love will have to wait for later, or you have to save that for later.
でも今から実験の準備するからしびれる愛の告白は後でね。
Now then, that's the line. Let's review the grammar patterns that we came across. We had a couple noun of a noun modifications here. We had a verbal noun with jyunbi, suru. We had the conjunction kara to mean because. We had the intransitive verb shibireru modifying the noun after it, I. And then lastly, the ato de grammar pattern, which is left pretty much unfinished in its structure, but that's a common thing. And so yeah, as you can probably tell, you don't have to use this line here word for word. You can modify it. Obviously, most people aren't scientists, so they won't be performing experiments. You can have a bunch of other different reasons for why someone's confession of love will have to wait for later. If you'd ever say that when you're trying to be a smooth talker or whatever. Or you can just change that part as well. You can say, I'm doing this right now, so something else will have to wait. Usage of the phrasing ato de ne is a pretty colloquial usage, and it's pretty in line with the English wording of like, this will have to wait, or this you'll have to save this for later because I have something to do right now. Something 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 kara something 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 ato de ne. And so yeah, that's gonna cover it for this video's topic. So sugi no video wa ato de ne.
私の話聞いてます？
うん。でも今から実験の準備するからしびれる愛の告白は後でね。
はあ。
Alright, that's gonna wrap it up for this episode of Anime Line of the Day. Remember, if there were grammar patterns mentioned for this line, they'll be mentioned in the description or the pinned comment below with links to the individual lessons on them. You can also probably find them in the playlist of our complete grammar video series shown on the screen right here alongside our anime playlist. And last but not least, don't forget to try to translate the bonus line we provided. Leave your translation in a comment below. Check out our Patreon, like the video, and subscribe. With all that said and done, see you next time.